Hey, what's up, everybody? You know, I don't think it was that shocking. Maybe it was to some people that Fastlane got the negative response that it did. Now, some thought it was okay, but overall, from a grading standpoint, a lot of people either gave it an F, a D minus, a C minus, a D plus. But the overall general admission was the show wasn't that good. And pretty much when the show isn't that good in the eyes of a lot of your fans, you have a problem. Now, some people have pointed out that certain things that happen, fans are overreacting to. And that is probably true in many forefronts. I mean, you have fans overreacting to the fact that Charlotte's undefeated streak ended last night. And look, I don't agree with it ending last night at Fastlane either, but I'm not complaining about it. I think what's going on is WWE is looking at the bigger picture. And that bigger picture is they want to create a rivalry in the Raw Women's division, if not the Women's division overall, that is similar, as much as I hate to say this, in their eyes, is similar to a John Cena Randy Orton. And that would be Bayley and Sasha. That's right. Now, I don't think they're going to rush this and put Bayley and Sasha one-on-one at WrestleMania. I don't think that's going to happen just yet. Too many factors right now playing in to the decision on whether or not we get that match a lot sooner than later. A lot of decisions are still being, a lot of factors, I should say, are still being brought into question about that. So again, I don't think we're going to get that match just yet. I think if anything, we're going to get two Fatal 4-Way matches for both the Raw and SmackDown Women Championships at Mania. I do see that happening, but I don't see, with all due respect, I don't see Sasha and Bayley one-on-one at WrestleMania. And it could happen for all we know, because I think the way WWE is looking at it is, hey, what probably is the most marquee money matchup we can get at Mania with the women, and they're probably looking at something like Sasha and Bayley one-on-one as an option. And again, I'm not saying that's a possibility. Right now, the plan is, and probably going forward, is we're going to have a women's Fatal 4-Way. I do believe that's the plan, and that's what's going to happen. It's probably going to happen on both sides. Now, as far as the rest of how WWE booked last night for Raw's Fastlane event, again, some people question it, like the whole Roman Reigns deal. I look at it this way, guys. I think behind the scenes, this is just my opinion. I think honestly, behind the scenes, in my opinion, that Vince McMahon has worked out some kind of an agreement or deal with Triple H, Paul Levesque. And that deal is for throughout late summer, throughout all the fall, basically through the latter part of the year, which is like late summer, the end of summer, throughout all the fall and most of the winter, Triple H can have any one of his men or women he chooses to be on top of the company, be on top of the brand and that they're a part of, until we get to WrestleMania. And by that time, they either will have to prove themselves in Vince McMahon's eyes to be worthy of being in Mania, or more than likely, they end up being taken out of the main event equation and placed with somebody else. That's basically what it is. When you get down to it, it's like some kind of little agreement is made of, oh, we'll let the Hall of Fame Triple H guys, or men and women, be on top. But then when the time is right, mostly around WrestleMania, we're going to pull the rug out of them, and we're going to put my guy, he's going to put his guys on top. He's going to put guys like Goldberg. He's going to put guys like Roman Reigns all on top of the WWE. Now, you could say, well, Roman Reigns is an exception. He's sort of a Triple H guy. Yeah, but who's embraced him more so than Triple H right now? That's right, Vince McMahon. So in my opinion, that's why Reigns went over Strowman last night, instead of maybe finding some other kind of finish that wouldn't hurt either guy or anything, you know, in the eyes of a lot of fans, wouldn't hurt either guy. But yet that didn't happen, and all because Vince's part of the deal is starting to take place, starting to come to fruition. Now you might say, well, Brian, you're kind of looking too much into it, and that might be true. That might be true. I might be looking a little too much into it, but the way I look at it along the lines of, what other option do you see happening? How else do you explain, I should say, what other option do you see happening? And also, how else can you explain certain Vince McMahon guys, as a lot of fans would point them out to be, suddenly on top of the card at WrestleMania? While all of a sudden these guys are just mowing through opponents that, in the case of Braun Strowman, has been mowing them down over the past several weeks. You know, you think you would capitalize on that. But they don't. But they don't. They don't capitalize on it. They don't capitalize on it whatsoever. They don't capitalize. They don't capitalize on it whatsoever. So it's basically just Vince McMahon behind the scenes going like, and I'm sorry for that interruption there. I kind of got distracted there for a moment. But it's basically Vince McMahon behind the scenes going like, well, Triple H had his time, now it's my turn. Ha ha ha. So that's why, in my opinion, why I think things went down the way they did last night. Now, were some decisions all Vince McMahon's? Not exactly. I mean, okay, Vince, behind the scenes, we understand, is high on Bayley. So her going over Charlotte the way she did, maybe a Vince McMahon idea, but maybe it's because, or maybe, again, like I said, maybe it's not just a Vince McMahon deal either. Again, maybe it's not just a Vince McMahon deal either. I look at it as well as maybe some of the decisions I think in some cases were Vince McMahon, were all Vince McMahon, and you could probably see that. And in other cases was a combination of Vince McMahon, Stephanie, and maybe Triple H. Because Triple H, he may be probably what's best for the WWE when the time comes. Him and Stephanie, whether you agree with it or not, behind the scenes, when Vince decides to step down, maybe they or even Shane is the best option. I'm not going to say they aren't. But even they can make mistakes, as we have seen. Some of the decisions they make could be questionable. And yeah, Vince has the final say. And that's why I think at this time of year, you always seem to, have guys that Vince is very strong about, very behind. You have guys and gals that Vince is very strong about and in favor of, sometimes going over when they shouldn't. And when it comes to Bayley, Bayley is an example of, yeah, she should have lost, and it would have made her regaining the championship at Mania a lot more sweeter. But then again, maybe it would have, maybe it wouldn't have, when one thinks about it. Because it looks like what's going on here, like I said, is what Vince McMahon is trying to do is probably build, maybe Triple H as well. We don't know maybe it's a combination of both, of all three. Maybe they realize, hey, if Bayley remains on the Raw brand, which is questionable, because if the draft comes up and it's a draft lottery, which I'm predicting it's going to be, there's no telling whether or not to decide to throw Bayley over to the SmackDown brand, or throw Charlotte to the SmackDown brand, or Sasha to the SmackDown brand. We don't know that yet. But what we do know is, like I said, but what we do know is rumors are circulating that they want to do Bayley and Sasha. So with Bayley going over the way she did last night, and Sasha going over the way she did, I think they're planting the seeds to that match. And if, like I say, they pull the trigger starting tonight for that match to take place at Mania, then that might be a good thing to do, because it would be better than a fatal four-way. But then again, is a fatal four-way that good? Because basically throughout the match, you're just going to have Nia Jax dominating throughout. She's just basically going to beat up on all three women. And when it looks like she's going to walk out with the championship, Bayley or Sasha's going to find a way to do it. Now, a lot of people are saying that that a fatal four-way or even a triple threat's the best way to do it, because that way Sasha can win the belt at Mania like she should have done last year, and I agree with that. And she could do it after Bayley does all the work, like Bayley hits the belly to Bayley on Charlotte, or even Nia for all we know, which could happen. And just as she's going for the pin, Sasha just pulls her off, pushes her out of the way, and steals the match, steals the championship. And you could start that intercourse, or start that program towards SummerSlam, because Bayley's like, wait a minute, I thought you said it wouldn't matter between us who would have won. And you could have Sasha start that heel turn towards basically saying, oh yeah, by the way, I lied about everything to you. Oh yeah, everything I've ever told you, I lied. So that could work. It could work that way. Which is why I think they might go through with the Fatal 4-Way, at WrestleMania. But then again, they could go triple threat, or they could go with the one-on-one Sasha Bayley match. That's what I think's going to. It could be any one of those three, but right now it's more looking like the Fatal 4-Way. But yeah, basically when you look at Fastlane, you could tell at several times, what was booked by Vince. What was booked by Vince McMahon to go in what matches were booked by Vince to go in a certain direction, and what matches were booked by either Triple H, all three, maybe Triple H and Vince together. And you could tell, basically what I'm saying is you could tell what certain matches, mainly the featured contests, were booked by Vince, maybe a combination of both Vince and Triple H together. Now, before I close this, let me take my time here. Well, I gotta get in. I will say this. There is another thing. I want to talk about this real quickly. The Hardys. Now, according to sources, they signed full-time contracts with Ring of Honor. Now, we don't know the length of those contracts. Some are saying they're short-term deals. My guess is they're going to remain. the reports are they signed with Ring of Honor because Ring of Honor is allowing them to have that creative freedom they once had in TNA, and thus continue using the broken gimmick, the broken Matt Brother Nero gimmick. So my thought is, WWE, my thought is, if they go back to WWE, they want to give it time. I think they want to wait for the right time frame to jump back to WWE, but maybe give them enough time to work something out to where they can still do the broken Matt Brother Nero characters, but do it in a way to where it's their ideas, that, you know, whatever they come up with, as you know, and that we see on television is totally their ideas, but it meets with the standards of what WWE programming is right now. That's what I think is going to happen. Like, they're going to wait until WWE maybe works something out with them to where they can still do the gimmick, but it's done, and they can still come up with the ideas for the gimmick, but it's done in a way that, they pass the gimmick along. They basically pass the ideas to WWE, and whatever ideas are approved, they go with, and whether or not Matt and Jeff could figure out, okay, what do we do next if we can't do that. So I think that's what they're trying to do if they go back to trying to work out with WWE. That's why they got this Ring of Honor deal going right now. So that's all I'm going to say on Fastlane and the Hardys, possibly WWE bound before the year's out. So let me know what you guys think down below, and I'm out.